and we are sharing an episode that I did with my man Sam Kabert on his podcast. We talked all about the soul mapping system, really how you can systematically harmonize both ambition and well-being and ultimately put the happy in your hustle. Let's dive into this episode. Do you want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Cary Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model/actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco-warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality.
Here we are again for another episode of the Soul Seekr Podcast, episode number 286. 6 years in the making. Love it, love it. Thank you so much for that, Carrie. So my guest in this one is Cary Jack, and I'm so stoked to dive into everything that he's about with Happy Hustle. I love his brand. If you guys aren't listening, or if you guys aren't watching this podcast, do yourself a favor and go to YouTube and watch it, because you have to see his setup and his brand. It's totally worth it. But with that, before we get started, as always, we will just dive into 3 breaths just to regulate, because I know many of you haven't taken a moment for yourself all day. So let this be that minute. And Carrie, for yourself, for me, for all of you listening that are in a place to slow down, you don't have to close your eyes. Always be mindful of what you're doing, you know, that whole thing. But if you can close your eyes, that's great. Carrie, for you, for me, we'll close our eyes and just beginning to shift from that outer world into the inner landscape, sitting straight up, feeling your feet on the floor, and through the nose, a big inhale all the way up, sighing it out. Another deep, expansive inhale through the nose, letting the belly expand and bringing that breath all the way up, sipping in a bit more air at the top. Hold the breath, roll up the eyes, and exhale, let it go, let it go. And one more, inhaling up, letting the belly and the back body expand, sipping in a bit more air, hold the breath, rolling up the eyes, softening the jaw, and exhale. Letting the breath return to its natural state and rhythm. And here we are. Cary, my man, happy hustle. How you doing? Welcome to the pod. Happy to have you here.
Yay, man. Honored to be here, and I'm feeling blessed. It's a beautiful day, and I'm breathing, especially after those couple of breaths. I feel even more blessed.
I love it. I love it. Cool. Well, I was listening to one of the podcasts you actually have on your podcast, Happy Hustle, earlier, and it was about IFS, parts work. I just clicked a random one. I was like, oh, I love IFS, and it was good stuff. And I got to learn a little bit more about you. I didn't know that you grew up in Sarasota and your mom was friends with Michael Singer. I was a little confused because Untethered Soul is one of my favorite books, but I was like, Mickey, who is this Mickey guy he's talking about? Then it hit me. I was like, oh, he's on the Friends and Family on the Inn. So anyways, though, nice to have you here. For anyone that's not familiar with your work, like, I'd love to hear just your journey and how you got here today.
Well, I was not happy hustling. That's how it all started. I was just hustling, and I know you can relate, and maybe some people out there watching and listening can too. But I was grinding like a dog, always been, an entrepreneur by nature, but really I was grinding like a dog in New York City, growing this tech business, faking it till I make it. And yeah, man, working 100+ hour weeks, getting roughly 4 or 5 hours of sleep, just rinse and repeat, truly. And, we were having quote unquote success. We had partnerships with Microsoft and IBM and a bunch of 7-figure VC funding deals on the table for this grandiose 5-year exit. And, it was everything that I thought I wanted: profit, success, ego, status, power, all the things society deems important. But I was lacking fulfillment and fun and faith and fitness and family and all the F words, right? It was just work, right? And yeah, man, it just came to a head. I ended up burning out. And I couldn't do it anymore. Folded my tech company, moved to Bangkok, Thailand, was there about a year. That's where I really started to put the happy in my own hustle, figured
And
out, okay, oh,
real
go ahead.
quick, how old were you, and what year was this?
This was when I was early 20s.
Mhm.
Yeah. So 2000, she's maybe 15.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
you were in Thailand. You were there for a year.
Yep. Yep. And then, um, yeah, just really started having a lot of fun online, like not that way in like
I wasn't going
OnlyFans
there, and all of a sudden now,
style, but
yeah.
yeah, yeah, I didn't have an OnlyFans account having fun.
Oh, because you do modeling, so in your world, it could be translated into
That
something like that. I would have never even considered that. That's
Yeah,
funny.
right, right. No, I mean, I did have one foot in the entertainment world, but I was more having fun online. Like, damn, I'm making money online. Like, I'm
Mhm.
doing webinars and goal setting and getting just basic reverse engineering your goals and like consulting slash coaching stuff. And I started writing my book over there, The Happy Hustle. And fast forward, I feel blessed to say it became a USA Today bestseller. And really that kind of kicked things off. Started a podcast back in 2019, all about the happy hustle. And, fast forward, it just became kind of this, I don't know, movement of how do you really systematically harmonize ambition and well-being. And I know you talk about a lot in your brand, in your business, this alignment, this flow, this again, I don't think work-life balance is the proper term. I think balance in general gets a bad rap, but that's at its core. We were solving for that problem, and yeah, fast forward, as they say, the rest is history. And I feel just very grateful for everything I have, and yeah, just being able to happy hustle a life that I love, both personally and professionally.
What does happy hustle mean to you?
So I actually just subtly dropped the definition, but it's the systematic harmonization of ambition and well-being.
Okay, got it. Yeah, because uh, I don't know if you felt this way after like burnout, but I know for me, like the work, even goal setting, like I
Mm,
had to walk away from goal setting for a while, and then I went like the complete other side to like intention setting and being like, I'm not going to focus on the end destination. And it took me a while to figure out something that was going to work for me as I rebuilt it. And I would say now I still have, I'm trying to find the right words, kind of like residual dust with the word hustle,
mm,
because I love your approach to the happy hustle. But
yeah,
still, like for me, I used to be all about the hustle and grind and all
yeah,
that and whatever. And we look at
same.
hustle culture, and I love your reframe of hustle. But you know what I mean? Like, is there any part of you, I guess not so much because you've been doing this for so long now, but initially, like, what did that look like to reframe the concept of what hustle meant?
I do agree, like the grind culture gets glorified. And unfortunately, I think it causes a lot of people anxiety, depression, burnout, and this terrible compare and despair mentality when you see someone online, you got to work on the weekends and get up at 4 a.m. and do all that. Like, you don't actually have to do that. I mean, if you want to be the GOAT, like, the best of the best in your industry, maybe. I'm not going to say you don't have to sacrifice, but I do believe there's a way to do it where you can actually put the happy in your hustle. And that's what we talk about. That's what we teach. That's what I live. And again, to be straight up, I don't claim to be the guru of shit, truly. I'm
That's
just the
great.
reporter of like, here's some things that are working for me,
Mhm.
and maybe they'll work for you too. And they've worked for thousands of others. So, take what works, leave what doesn't. And for me, if I need a damn break, I'll go for a walk or I'll go fly fishing. I don't have to grind for my 2 hour work block if I'm not being focused and productive and in flow. That's not going to produce my best work. So it's just a reframe of the hustle in order to put the happiness within it. And I do think it just begets better work.
hmm I love what you're about, and I mean, I'm going to put myself in that same sentence because we're about like the paradoxes, the dichotomy, the dichotomy. There we
Yep.
go. yin yang, yin yang,
Mm-hmm.
and we need both. So I'm just such a huge fan of all of this. One question I have for you, as I was like looking into your work, because I'm newer to your work, is your soul mapping acronym and framework. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this little pro tip for everyone out there who's building a business, you need your own IP. So if you don't have your own intellectual property, it's going to be very difficult to have sticky concepts as well as something sellable at the end of the day. So, and even if you never want to sell it, you still want to have a business that's worth selling, right? And so that's where IP and unique frameworks and strategies and processes come into play. And that's really our special sauce. I spent many of hours creating this damn acronym. This was before ChatGPT. And I was like, I wish I would have just had AI, because now you can create acronyms like that. But it really is your soul's map to the blissfully balanced promised land. And it's a breakdown of what I believe are the 10 most important areas of life in modern day 2025 time, right? Or at least just our time period, depending on when you're listening to this. It's not rocket science. None of our stuff is, but it's just being intentional. So the S stands for selfless service. The O stands for optimized health. The U stands for unplugged digitally, right? And the L stands for loving relationships. So that's the soul part. And then the mapping part, the M stands for mindful spirituality. The A stands for abundance financially. The P, first one, stands for personal development. Second one stands for passionate hobbies. The I, impactful work. And then the N, nature connection. And so what we do, and what I talk about in the book, what we talk about on our podcast and our masterminds and our software as a service, all of it is centered around those 10 different areas of life and measuring yourself in each using a grading scale, 1 to 5. I wasn't much for school, but I do know the grading scale. So 5 is like an A, you're crushing it, happy hustling in that alignment. 1 is like an F, you're failing. So what I do is I go through this process of a real-time assessment in these 10 different areas of life every Sunday. And I say, oh, damn, how much did I volunteer last week? What's my body, mind, and emotional spirit like for optimized health? Was I intentional with my devices for unplugging digitally? How's my relationships with my wife and my family and my inner circle? So that's the soul part. I did a quick assessment. I give myself a 1 to 5, and I do that for the mapping part as well. And then it allows me to pivot and iterate and evolve in real time, because people oftentimes wonder, well, how did I get here? I'm so burnt out. I'm so unfulfilled. I'm so anxious or depressed. And it's because they don't take a real assessment of where they're at and where they need to prioritize change. So that's the soul mapping system. I'm happy to dive in and double click wherever you want.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, especially since you're doing the scoring system, because I think a big barrier for people to integrate different things into their life is just like, oh man, this sounds like a lot. Like on a Sunday, like I'm going to review everything you're telling me. I'm going to have to actually have to like check in with myself, right? Like
Yeah.
this is the type of work that I'm teaching just differently, like through breathwork and subconscious reprogramming, which is kind of baked in and layered into that in some ways, but I think it's really a low barrier to entry if you're just doing a score. And I would imagine if it's a low score, then you just double click there, as you would say, and then figure out where you need to get back into alignment, right?
Yeah. I mean, like what we do in our Happy Hustle Club is we have a whole spreadsheet that we track our scores. And then for your lowest alignment, you actually have to create a smart action task in order to boost your score, which is a specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely action task. And inside the book, not to just keep referencing it, but the truth is each one of those alignments is a chapter. And at the end of each of those alignment chapters is a list of potential action tasks you can use to boost your score. So we also have something that parlays with the book, which is a whiteboard fridge magnet. Goes right on your refrigerator. We'll send you one if you don't have one already, man. But it's pretty cool because it's analog. In my opinion, we have enough apps and devices, although we are creating that too, just to keep track of everything digitally. But you go to your fridge at least 3 times a day looking for snacks and goodies and whatnot, So this is a daily reminder. And then we made it so it's just binary. Did you do the action task associated with that specific alignment? For nature connection, did you walk outside for 15 minutes without your devices? For, unplug digitally, did you spend the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes device free? And it's just a yes or no checkbox. And then at the end of the day, you could see where you missed. And then at the end of the week, you could see where you're lacking based on your scores added up. So again, what you measure, you can manage. That old adage. This is just a simple way to operate in life and make sure that you don't ebb or flow out of balance either one way or another.
Yeah, that's so good that you're leveraging refrigerator magnets. So often, like in personal development or even spiritual development, we hear about, putting your notes on your mirrors and things like that. And one of the most impactful things I've done personally is get one of those little refrigerator magnets for kids that's like, what emotion am I feeling? And then it's got the little slider there. It literally taught me what the emotion safe meant. I was staying there washing dishes. I was just looking over at the emotion chart and I was like, I don't know what I feel right now. And I'm looking at all of them and I saw safe. And I was like, oh, this is what safe feels like. And it's so funny because it's made for kids. But what happens is most of us disconnect, we disassociate. So we're reconnecting to those thoughts and feelings. And I would love one of those because I have a couple other things like that in my fridge too. It's just a great little check-in.
Yeah, we'll get you one, man, for sure.
Yeah, appreciate that. Cool. Good stuff. So with burnout, talk to us about burnout. I know you are working on a new workplace company happiness program and you speak about preventing burnout as well. So floor is yours. I would love to unpack all this.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is SaaS is a real biatch, right? Software as a service. And the only reason I'm undertaking it and going back to, the tech days of building out a platform like this is because it's such a epidemic in our culture right now. Studies show, according to Gallup's State of the Global Workplace, this is a worldwide study, by the way. This isn't just America, but we have a really grave problem here in America. But 2 out of every 3 employees are said to be disengaged or actively disengaged with what they do for work. That's crazy to me. 2 out of every 3 people, are really not happy with their reality when it comes to what they do as a career. They are quietly quitting in some cases, or they're present but not productive. And this costs the U.S. workplace alone over $400 billion with a B, So it's crazy to think that this problem hasn't been solved yet, or at least not that I know about in any real capacity to make a dent in it. So that's really what we're tackling with our initiative is how do we increase employee well-being and thus ultimately company productivity. So we're certifying companies that embody the happy hustle 10 alignments and that actually give a shit about their employees, both personally and professionally, not just their bottom line. So we have a daily check-in system for employees that then results in a weekly call and coaching program, kind of where we support employees that need help in any given alignment. Then we have a monthly rewards program to incentivize with the carrot, not the stick, although I do like the stick. I do think, HR departments don't love when you dock pay for not doing what you say you're going to do. So we're doing, trips to Cabo and whatnot to incentivize people to participate. So that's really the model. It's nothing crazy. Again, it's just being intentional with your time, being, very much as a leader, emotionally in tune with how your employees are doing, and then having these reflective dashboards that give you a real pulse on your people.
So that's what I was going to ask you, how is this SaaS platform? So the dashboard part, so I guess people are doing their own scores, kind of like what you mentioned earlier. Is it something like that?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah. So this all started, man, because our entrepreneurs, we take our own medicine. We do these assessments, and just being able to see where you're lacking and where you need to prioritize change creates massive shifts. And they were like, well, I need something for my team to do this. And I'm like, well, we don't have anything. They're like, well, can you build it? And I was like, well, damn, I guess so. So It's a platform that, they just get a daily text that says, hey, Where you at in this? And it's just a thumbs up, thumbs down. Did you do your action tasks associated? And then you have a weekly check-in assessment. And it's really basic, but then that spits out a lot of data points for your boss or your employer or your, company founder to then reflect on, and then ultimately make pivots based on the feedback from their people.
I'm very passionate about this as well, and speak to a lot HR professionals via SHRM, and sometimes I get brought in for their own companies. I know I did a speech recently for a chain of casinos that actually had, I want to say 17, but I think it was 7 death by suicides in the past year, which is
Wow.
it's heartbreaking. I'm personally a survivor of suicide now for the second time as of just a few weeks ago.
Whoa,
So
shit.
yeah, it's fresh. Yeah. So having said that,
Glad you're here, man.
it's survivor in terms of like someone I know, put it that way. Sometimes
Oh,
the terms get confused.
okay.
I was looking at, I forgot now what the what the term is, because survivor suicide can be interpreted either way, like you attempted. I think it's survivor suicide by association and by attempt, maybe. I don't
Oh,
remember. I got to
well,
double check that. Anyways, though, point being, it's truly heartbreaking, and this person that's a very close family member in my life, like he was extremely successful. He lived right next to someone who founded a SaaS company that everyone in the world uses almost daily, if not daily, just to show he had more money than he knew what to do with, yet he was so unhappy on the inside. And that's kind of similar to your story, similar to my story, and not all of us figure it out. And I can feel it with you, the resonance, like you and I both want to get inside these companies and truly help them. And from what I've seen in my time of going from someone who was slinging branded merchandise to mental health, making a massive pivot, like when I talk with companies, a lot of times it seems like they just want to check the boxes for mental and emotional health. Like, what are you seeing there?
whoa, whoa, whoa. Apologies for interrupting your programming. But I have to tell you, the best investment you can make in yourself is one in which helps you acquire skills. You've probably heard people talk about, oh, just invest in yourself and you'll be successful. Yes, that's true to a degree, but you have to invest in skills that will ultimately help you achieve your desired results. And I think one of the best skills one can possess, be it an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, is the sales sword. Really knowing how to sell, utilizing pressure free persuasion, which will make you more money and more impact. Now, if you want to know how to sell more efficiently and effectively, I just launched a sales course called The Proven Roadmap Process to Selling Millions of Dollars and helping you to increase your conversions guaranteed. And you can get access to this new sales course that The Happy Hustle is launching at thehappyhustle.com/sales. And if you act fast, you'll get it at the lowest price it'll ever be available, because we are launching it and we want to gain amazing testimonials and social proof to further share this knowledge. So if you act fast, you can get it at the lowest price it'll ever be. That's at thehappyhustle.com/sales. Now let's get back to this episode. Well, to be honest, that is a sad reality. It's, oh yeah, we have a mental health counselor on staff and, check in when you need it, but maybe it's frowned upon if you actually do, right? There's a lot of stigma around it. For us, we're not looking to judge one way or another. We just want to be a part of the solution. And I think personally, the wave of the future cares about sustainability. They care about what's good for, the triple bottom line, people, planet, and the profits. And myself being an eco warrior, and, we're part of many things that are supporting our planet, and specifically, 1% for the planet, and giving back 1% of our gross revenue every year to causes that are doing good in the world, that have been vetted. As well as I have another company with my brother that is big into, sustainability and specifically fighting the plastic pollution epidemic, I feel and I see the wave of employees and consumers demanding this in the workplace. So I think it's going to be a common practice in almost every company in 10 years, to be honest, or else those companies will be out of business because no longer do people want to work for companies that don't care. They don't. There's a movement taking place where you see with B corporations, corporations that are very transparent. They have to go through a rigorous assessment each year. And, like Patagonia is a B corporation, for example, and North Face and, a bunch of others, Ben and Jerry's, stuff like that. But the point is, this is the future. And so I think these type of initiatives in the workplace will become common practice, or else those companies will eventually go out of business because they won't have people who want to work there anymore.
Yeah, it goes back to the Gallup stat 2 and 3,
Yeah.
disgruntled essentially, or unhappy and not motivated and not performing. So for someone that's like working in one of these companies and they're feeling the stigma, like, and they don't feel necessarily like safe to leverage a mental health counselor that the company provides or something like that. Like, how do we reach those people? How do we support them best and meet them where they're at?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things out there now, I feel like, that are becoming more normalized, like BetterHelp, for example. Like that's a very popular and they're crushing it with their marketing.
Sure.
Sometimes people just need others to talk to, and just phone a friend, being vulnerable with a group that is like-minded. I think men's groups and women's groups specifically can really be beneficial. That's been what I see as the biggest catalyst and transformation. Also, reading and acquiring new skills to better cope with your emotions. I mean,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, to be honest.
It's interesting that you bring up like men's groups and women's groups. And yeah, I facilitated a men's group for a while there and definitely
Yeah.
am into men's work. And it's just interesting to think like, I don't know why, but LinkedIn's popping up. Take any tech company, any big company, right? But they have all these different ERG groups, like employee resource groups. I've never worked in corporate, so I don't know
Neither.
what it's like on the inside, right? And I know like there's different cultural and different DEI groups and things like that. I wonder if there's like just a straight like men's and women's or non-binary. I'm sure there is. I don't know. But,
I don't know because I, like you, have never been in corporate, never plan to,
yeah,
never had a
totally.
real job. So, you know, Sam, you're asking the wrong guy when it comes to what's out there in the corporate workplace. All I know is what we're building and our competitors per se, who I don't look at as competitors. I just, see it as collaborators in a just different sense. But nonetheless, I digress. If it's out there and others know about it, hey, feel free to let Sam and I know what is out there so we can echo, the good stuff that is serving others.
Yeah, that's why we're having this conversation though, right? And just
Yeah.
putting it out there and for many of you listening. And I guess where I'm going with this is like it's really interesting to see what's acceptable in a corporate environment and what's not. Especially when you're on the outside and when you think you're starting to work with them, figuring out like what they think their team would be into. Like for me, being on the outside, I'm like breath work, duh, like you do. I obviously have my offer of the Breath Club, my free online community with breathwork sessions for 30 minutes. And I mean, so many people almost without fail, they leave those sessions and they're like, I haven't been here for a couple of weeks and I need to commit to this because just this changes everything for
Oh
me,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome you do that too, man. Shout out to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's fun. I enjoy giving back and being of service, and you mentioned something that I'd like to address, and it's mindset. It's lost on me now for a moment, but it's just, we could look at as competitors. You mentioned that, but you don't have that mindset. I think there's so much to be said about like having a scarcity mindset. Like, talk to us about how your mindset shifted over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I look at everybody as someone who I could learn from. And whether it's the garbage man on the street or the CEO in the high rise office, like that's been my student mindset for as long as I can remember, truly. And just being humble enough to know that I don't know what I don't know, right? And also then realizing my mentality is to add value first and foremost. And I know it's cliche and everyone maybe is like, okay, yeah, I get it. But I actually mean it. Like, I'm going to do what I can to support you without really any law of reciprocity at play or any, uh, you know, like ulterior
Ulterior
motive.
motives. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like, I think
yeah.
that's this like almost like virtue signaling that takes place with people. They, you know, you mentioned LinkedIn, and I think of like this guy recently reached out to me. He calls himself like the super connector, the best connector in the world, or whatever. I'm like, so yeah, we had a 10-minute virtual coffee or whatever the hell he said, and I'm
In
like,
England, or somewhere like that, from
no, it was
somewhere.
like on Zoom,
No, no, but the person from England,
I
London.
don't know,
No,
where
I'm
the
like,
heck.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Oh, there's probably multiple who claim it,
For
but
sure.
the point is, it's like it was the most generic like BS questions, didn't give a shit. It was just checking a box for his daily, connections. And I left feeling like a kind of yicky feeling about the
Mm.
whole situation. And when I mean, I make probably 5 to 10 connections with like really powerful people every single week, or like what I think is really powerful. I guess it's all relative, but like awesome, happy, hustling humans. Maybe it's a badass stay at home mom and someone who's runs an awesome garden store or whatever. And I'm like, you guys should connect and, whatever. Like, but mainly it's businessmen to other business women or vice versa. The intention, I think, is pure in that I just want them to both win. And that's been the mindset for me, not looking at anybody as per se competition, because I believe in the blue ocean strategy per se, which is really creating your own market using your uniqueness and then exploiting that in the service of others, as my buddy Rory Vaden says. And so that's really the mindset that I would urge everyone to consider is how do you be of more service? The value that you provide right now is directly correlated with the number in your bank account.
Mm.
So if you're not super stoked with what number is in your bank account, it's because you are not providing the amount of value in the marketplace that you desire. And when people make that shift, and when I made that shift, it's like, oh, I just need to become more valuable. And in order to become more valuable, I need more skills. And whatever those skills are for you right now in your industry, that's oftentimes the gap between where you are and where you want to go.
That's really good. That's really good. Yeah, I think a lot of us can rewind and listen to that once more. Skills, and then the trap that I know sometimes people say that I get into. I don't feel like I do, but maybe from an outsider is getting skills and trainings and all and certificates, and like I'm a student, and a teacher. It's kind of like that humility where it's like I'm always learning. It's like learn, teach, and embodiment is right there in it, because you can't teach anything and you can't learn anything if you're not embodying it. And I think a lot
Amen.
of teachers get just stuck in the learn, teach, and they don't embody. It's just like that chasing cycle almost.
Oh, I do know. I got one friend that comes to mind that has like every Tony Robbins certification under the sun, and they're broke as a joke. And I'm like, eventually you're going to need to deploy some of these strategies that you've acquired. You can't just have this certification craze. And my thought is testimonials trump certifications every day of the damn week.
True.
Testimonials and a changed life and social proof trump any certification every day of the week. So if you want to make more money or you want to impact more lives, then help someone get a real result. And then watch them tell another person, and then watch that person tell another person. And it's crazy, dude. I say this not to like toot our own horn in any capacity, but I just got off our Happy Hustle Club call. I know we talked about it briefly, but two of the guys got on, and they're new to our club, but they both signed up for our Montana Mastermind Epic Camping Adventure, where we take our guys in the wilderness for 5 days, and it's a complete off-the-grid business mastermind, hiking 10 miles, teach survival skills, fly vision, breath work, meditation, all the things. But we're in the middle of freaking nowhere, Montana, just having a blast, binks and business pleasure. These guys haven't even went on the trip yet. They haven't even went on the trip yet. And they told me both in front of the rest of the club that they've already told at least, they said the word hundreds, but I'm guessing a couple dozen people about the trip that they're going on and how it's changed their training, changed their protocol, how they don't want to show up to the mastermind and not be prepared to hike 10 miles with a 50-pound pack. So it's changed their life. They both said it. I'm like, what? You haven't even been out here yet, but you're saying that. So the point is, when you find something, that unique cross-section with a blue ocean, like how many business masterminds are doing a backcountry wilderness trip? Not many, right? This is a blue ocean that I created that we compete in, and it gets real results. Real transformation takes place. The marketing takes place without you even. Like, we just turned on ads and they're absolutely crushing it. I have to throttle back because it's just not scalable. I don't want to be taking thousands of people camping. I want the right people to come in moderation. It's more high ticket, high touch. And so I say all that to say, get real results for people, get those testimonials when you get those results to use as marketing. Hey, the 3 keys of business: marketing, sales, fulfillment. The better you market, the less you have to sell, and just get people real results and watch your reality transform.
And that makes so much sense too. Like when you're investing in yourself in a group experience where you're going to be hiking, I think you said 10 miles with a 50-pound back or ruck pack, whatever it'd be, hiking backpack. Yeah, you would need a train. It brings me back to me committing to triathlons with a homie when I had zero background of running, swimming, or biking, and being like, I got about 12 months to train, so I got to figure this out,
Yeah, better get after it.
And then I got the triathlon bug for about 1.5 or 2 years. And I was like Forrest Gump, and be like, I think I'm going to go home now. I think I'm done. Why am I still doing this? I did the thing and I enjoyed it, but now I'm just like,
I think I'm going to go home now.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that reassociation, because we get so caught up in like, okay, this is who I am now and this is what I'm doing, but am I just checking the boxes? Am I actually even present with this whole thing? So when you create a mastermind or an experience like that, where there's that like runway, it makes sense that they're all jazzed up. And one of the things I wanted to mention too is, like, we started this conversation like talking about like how you're helping businesses and infuse businesses. And then in the past 10-15 minutes or so, I don't know, we transitioned a little bit more to what seems like entrepreneurs. So it seems like you have your hands in 2 very different pots. Is that right?
Well, our main perfect target avatar is heart-centered, high-performing, badass male entrepreneurs who love nature and want to essentially crush it both personally and professionally, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning not just make money, but also be a great husband, father, man of God, community servant, just holistically happy human. Those are who are part of our Happy Hustle Club and come on our masterminds. What happened was these people also run big companies, and they noticed the problem with their employees, which then created this flywheel where now we have to build software as a service and to deploy our Happy Hustle 10 alignments to their teams. So that's really the 2 different pots.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. It came up out of necessity then.
Basically.
Yeah, that's dope. Really cool. So these masterminds, like it sounds like this is what you've been doing for years, and you have several a year. Like, well, tell me more about it. I don't even know. You mentioned briefly when we first connected, but I'd love
Yeah.
to hear, and I'm sure the listeners are curious too.
I mean, I'll tell you straight up, I believe with AI and technology infiltrating our everyday reality that live events are going to become more and more important than ever because people crave that human to human connection. And, you know, I've been running events for over a decade, different masterminds, different large scale events. Heck, I was even at Fire Festival as a VIP liaison through my buddy's company, that whole shit show. You know, I got stories from Coachella to Sundance, and I love events because they're freaking where the real magic happens.
Hmm.
But they're also a freaking pain in the ass if you don't know how to do them right. So we have multiple masterminds throughout the year. This year we have 8 masterminds. It's a lot
Wow.
of freaking
Nice.
masterminds, to be honest, but they're awesome. Each one of them has their own little theme. Like we do a ski and snowboard trip in the winter. We got our backpacking trips in the summer. We got an Alaska 7-day adventure. We have a couples one in Medellin where we're bringing in sex experts and couples counselors. We got a health and fitness optimization one with Ben Greenfield, my buddy, in at his house in November. Then we're doing a Guatemala give back mission trip with all of the families from our Happy Hustle Club guys. So each one has a little vibe, and you know, again, they embody the happy hustle ethos, right? Of crushing it both personally and professionally. And masterminds, in my opinion, if everyone out there takes nothing else away, but just looks into going to a mastermind that is within their specific industry or within their desired goal, you know, or related to their desired goal outcome, then I consider this being a win because that is where exponential growth takes place. You know, because you do events and you've been to many of masterminds, but when you invest in the right masterminds and the right events, that's where you make exponential growth happen. Not by DMing people on Instagram or hopping on Zoom calls all day. It's getting your ass out of your bubble and putting yourself in the mix and networking and making connections happen. That's where magic and growth take place.
It's so much so. I mean I live for that. I love that stuff so much. And I'm as I mentioned to you working on getting my own going, and
Yeah.
it's the whole social media and building an audience thing, even having been for me having been in content for now 8 years. It's like it's takes a while. I struggle sometimes with like limiting beliefs, right? Because I'm like, is it a fact that it takes a while, but it's been the experience, and I've done my work to let go, and still working on it though, and that's okay. So it's all good.
Well,
Well,
anything worth doing takes time. You know that. And
yeah.
the truth is, with your brand, like personal brands are very important these days. People want to build that know, like, and trust online. So I do hear you, and everyone out there, I hope you are building your personal brand and really honing that in. For me, 4 questions that changed my whole trajectory. This is from my buddies at Brand Builders Group. What problem do you solve in one word? Who exactly do you solve it for? What is your uniqueness in solving it? And then what is your primary revenue stream when you are solving it? Right. So if you get clear on those 4 questions and you build a personal brand around that, then you don't have to pivot, or then you don't build an audience and then pivot and confuse people, or oh, I was a real estate guy, actually I'm talking spirituality, or it's like there's a lot of brand confusion out there. Our problem, we solve imbalance. People come to us because they're oftentimes out of balance, they're working too much, they want the happy hustle, right? And so we're very clear on that. So that's just a little pro tip when you're building an audience, and it will shortcut the growth chasm. Now I will say our growth chasm, this is just a little something that I'm very open about. We fucked ourselves, excuse my language, but I paid for an agency that does all organic marketing and traffic, and it just froze our accounts. We grew a ton, but it was bots and scam. And this was like before I knew about that and what it was. And so we had to unfollow. We were in the hundreds of thousands of followers on all the stuff and Instagram. And now I'm at this current crossroads where we're shrunk way back down from an audience of just fake people and Indians, like legit Indians overseas.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm struggling with, do I have to rebuild and start a whole fresh account? Because like once you tank the algorithm, oftentimes, they're unforgiving on social media. So the point and the cautionary story is build your following. It's going to take some time, put in the reps, put out the content, and don't think there's a shortcut.
Yeah, it's funny because my Instagram is like dead now, and I think I have like 6,000 followers or something. And 2 years ago, I started doing a little challenge. Like for a month, I did 2 posts a day for a month, and I think I grew it somewhere around 2,000 followers to 4,000 in a month, and then I started to get a little like burned out from that and just different things. And it's shiny object syndrome, like that type of thing, right? So then a few months later, I had a friend tell me about some like shout out thing, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, that sounds like that's fake accounts, that's bots though. And she's like, no, it's not, it's legit. And I'm like, nah, I think I'm good. And then she was telling me that it's legit, and I had a different coach that was telling me about like shout outs. And so I knew that there also is like a legit path.
Yeah.
And I did that thing, and it ended up being bots and whatnot. So I hired a VA to like go in and unfollow, like remove
Oh
followers,
yeah, we had to do all that. Yep.
but it still didn't even work. Like I'm at where you're at. It sounds like
Oh
in
yeah,
my
you
own
get
arena.
in jail. Yeah, you get in social media jail. It sucks, dude.
Yeah. So I don't know what to do. I'm on TikTok now, and I've been doing 3 videos a day for I think 5 or 6 weeks, and I've grown about 2,000 followers in that span on TikTok. So
There you go.
TikTok's doing
There
well,
now. Well, here's just an important note for everybody. Attention is the new currency.
hmm
We are in the attention economy. And so your content has to crush. It has to be really good to capture attention. So a lot of times, like, I just realized my content's not very good if it's not growing. I'm like, shit, I got to pivot. That didn't get much likes. It's not like you have to taper some of the excuse with maybe I'm just not up to par. Not saying you, but I know for me, I've had to eat some humble pie like that. Like, shit, I guess this isn't that good of a content piece. The
hmm
stuff that crushes for us are oftentimes memes and gifs that I reshare and like put my own spin on it. People like cat videos, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
We could talk all day about personal growth and development. They just want a good giggle. Break them out of their little unfulfillment that they're currently, feeling during a doom scroll. So it is what
Yeah.
it is. Take it all with a grain of salt, but realize it's the long game, and personal brand building is worth playing. So,
hmm
yeah.
And it sounds like with your buddy's model from Brand Builders, the one revenue stream to focus on for you is Masterminds with 8 a year.
So our Happy Hustle Club is actually like the core program. That's our 50K and 25K annual program, but they get as a part of that 2 or 3 mastermind tickets within those different tiers. So yes, to answer your question, it is masterminds, but it's more our annual program, the club at large.
Yeah, you're working with some high performers if your sale price is 25 and 50K.
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
that's
mean, I just
amazing.
had a guy message me last week. He just re-upped for another 25K this year. And he's like, that was the best 25K I've ever spent. And I've told everybody about it. And I got it on text messages, and he shouts it out all the time. And it's, again, I look at like, how can I deliver massive 3X value? If someone's going to spend 25, I want to at least give them 3X back personally and professionally. And yeah, I think a lot of people don't look at it like that. They're just like, in the business of signing people up. I'm in the business of keeping the lifetime value of a
Mm.
customer as high as possible. So most of our people have stayed with us for years. My team has been with me for 4 years, 5 years since we started the Happy Hour. So I got 5 Filipino VAs. They've all been with us for 5 years. Their shout out to them. They're amazing. I like
Mhm.
to build long win-win. Most of our sponsors and partners have been with us years. So it's like if you play the long game and you don't think short-sighted, let me just get a quick buck or sign a quick client up. That's, I think, a better way to work this this business realm. And yes, to answer your question, most of our guys are studs. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an awesome conversation as we start to wrap this up, Carrie, like really getting back to your message of happy hustle. Like there's so many stressors and pressures of life and all these different things. If there's one thing that you could leave people with so they can go from imbalance to balance, what would be that thing?
Do an audit of your reality in the 10 different alignments.
Mm.
Shameless plug, but you could do it for free at the Happy Hustle Club or thehappyhustle.com. Yeah. I mean, you go there and you could take the assessment and then you do the audit right there and they'll just spit you out a score, you know. But the audit is the key here.
Well, you heard it here, guys. You can go to the show notes and click that link to take Carrie's assessment for the 10 principle 10, what do we call
Alignments. Yeah.
alignments? That's it. And that will be in the show notes. And then don't forget also with Carrie's Sunday review. That was a lot with soul mapping. So if you don't remember it all, go back and listen. But basically, check in with yourself and give yourself scores.
And they get the book for free too, Sam. Just to mention, like, you know, not a pitch here, but you can literally download the book for free. We have it free on our website. So if it was confusing at all, or you want to go deeper in the 10 alignments, like you go to the website and you just, you know, put your email in, you get the free copy of our USA Today bestseller. So that's just an option too. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you, Carrie. Carrie, that is awesome. That's in the show notes, guys. So everything that we talked about, it's going to be in the show notes. Carrie, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. And I hope to do it again with you real soon. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, man. God bless. Peace and love, everybody.